Chair recognizes Attorney Brown.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. We'll request a motion to go into executive session for the discussion of pending or potential litigation, personnel, and real estate.
Second.
Who is that,
Mayor Pro
Mr.
Tem.
Williams? And Dennis Williams, second that? Okay. William.
The Williams, too.
William boys.
Voting. Yeah.
Boys sound better. Don't sound as criminal. That motion carries with Mr. Franham and Mr. Garrett out.
Okay, we are back from. Chair recognizes Attorney Brown.
Mayor and Commissioners will request a motion to execute the closed meeting affidavit.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner from the 7th with a second from the Mayor Pro Tem. Voting.
Where's Catherine? I don't know where she is.
She's coming.
She's coming. I know she's coming. It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we've got 3 items that I want to add to the special call meeting agenda. The first item is an item from the Mayor Pro Tem regarding the mask requirement in all government facilities. That's item 1, and if there's no objection, we'll add that to the agenda. All right, without objection. The second item we have is a request for concurrence around the purchasing and credit cards from the Commissioner from the 6th. A discussion, if there's no objection, we'll add that item to the agenda. Without objection. A third item is a resolution in support of a position that ACCG and the Georgia Municipal Association have taken regarding House Bill 1093 and Senate Bill 494. Without objection. Those 3 items have been added to the special call meeting agenda. Madam Clerk will take them in that order.
Okay. Next item, item number 3, is a motion to approve the bid award RFP item 22171 professional auditing services for Augusta, Georgia Finance Department to Mullen and Jenkins LLC.
Chair recognizes the Director of Finance.
Good afternoon. The RFP.
Speaking to the microphone,
Yes,
please.
sorry. The RFP for our required financial audit services was let by Procurement. The audit, the RFP stayed out for 4 weeks. There were over 900 downloads, responses from DemandStar, another 125 packets mailed out. There was 1 response from Malden and Jenkins. The committee had evaluated that response and has unanimously recommended to proceed with the award of the contract to Malden and Jenkins for our required governmental financial audit.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved.
Okay.
Was that Ms. Scott? Who was that?
Second.
Ms. Scott.
Our son said it first.
As yeah, he made the motion and then the mayor turned it. Okay, we have Mr. Bobby Williams and Ms. Francine Scott.
Voting.
Voting.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson? Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask the commissioners if they would.
That motion carries 8-2 with Mr. Garrett and Mr. Clark voting no.
I'm gonna ask the commissioners if you would graciously just push the button and we'll recognize you. If you would do that. All right, Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 4, Mayor Pro Tem for the motion, sir.
Yes.
The one that everybody's waiting for. Let me see, let me put my eyeglasses on. Motion to remove the mask requirement for all government buildings effective March 8, 2022.
Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 2nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Approval, second. I didn't
Okay.
put my mic on.
Francine Stott did a second.
That motion again is motion to remove the mask requirement for all government buildings of Augusta, Georgia, effective March 8th, 2022. Voting. March the 8th.
It's unanimous.
So you can take your mask off if you wish.
You can put it on if you wish.
He's
Keep it on.
being derelict. He's completely off range.
This is a requirement.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Item number 5 is regarding the amendment to the resolution of the purchasing and credit cards to the.
Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Appreciate my colleagues allowing it to add it to the special call meeting agenda. And what we got going here is, about a year ago or less, we approved a credit card policy as a result of per state law that passed in 2015 and 16. And as a result of that, we got a challenge that we have come up with, discovered as of yesterday, as a result of the clerk being able to do the things she need to do with our around making reservations for the conferences and things of that nature that the commission attends. With that being said, we got about 10 commissioners here. We have 10 commissioners here. Each one of those commissioners have a $7,500 travel budget. And so with that, I personally believe that the clerk of commission who handles our business should have a limit of $75,000. So with that also, I'm gonna come back with a motion after I make this last point here. And that is, also, I think the clerk does not need to be hindered in terms of taking care of our business. I don't mean hindered in a negative sense, but just need to be able to expedite the process and trying to do what needs to be done for us. But when these conferences come available, when these conferences come online, historically, from across the country and across the state, there's bombarded with participants trying to get in. And so if she reach a limit, time is of essence. And as a result of that, you can miss rooms, you can miss classes, you can miss the things that you really want to go to. I think over the last year, this commission has been very adamant in terms of that it wants to do more educating itself so it can better serve this community. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that the clerk be removed from the policy in terms of conduct the business of the commission, and at the same time, with a limit be increased to $75,000 immediately. That's my motion.
Chair recognizes the attorney.
Commissioner Hassan, just for clarification, when you say remove from the policy, do you mean remove from the resolution of Augusta, Georgia Commission regarding county issued purchasing and/or credit cards where there's a list of elected officials and the clerk appears on that list?
Yes, so the clerk is on that list, and want to remove the clerk from that list.
So you are seeking to amend this resolution by removing the clerk from the list of the listed of elected officials?
Yes, sir.
Can we suspend for a minute?
find you though, your credit, it's not gonna, you know, cause really you don't need 75,000. But she's only gonna be able to use as much credit as she needs to, and then it's gonna be over. Right, right, right. Really not gonna make a difference, cause they just authorized it, it's not doing anything.
The commissioner from the 6th is going to amend his current motion. Okay? Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 6th.
Yes, sir. Thing is, for the clerk of commission, limit be increased to $75,000 immediately, and the clerk of commission, the attorney, procurement, and finance get together and find a way to resolve the issue around the credit card policy, and potentially removing the clerk's office from that list.
Let me try it this way, Commissioner, if I can add to it or kind of clarify. This is a motion to increase the clerk of commission's credit card usage to $75,000, and general counsel clarify the policy around the clerk of commission's use. As broad, but it gives you the latitude to bring any closure, reconciliation to what was the problem. Chair recognizes attorney.
What exactly what you mean by to clarify the policy? Are you seeking to take an action, or you just want to have conversation?
Conversation. In fact, what I would counter, and I think the commissioner from the 6th believes this to be his intent today, and that is simply to increase the amount so that the business of the people can be done and conducted by members of the commission. And that's really the full motion. That's all that needs to happen today. I believe the clerk concurs with that.
Well, the part about being taken out the resolution, I concur with that. If I can, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
And the only thing this will do is give us the same direction, the latitude, and the authorities we had when the commission, in fact, approved the credit card for the clerk's office back in 2000 to perform the duties that we're currently doing. That's all this is doing, reverting back. And the resolution only has elected officials. When this legislation came forward, it was only directed toward elected officials, not staff.
Hold on. I think the commissioner from the 6th, he's in the queue.
My motion stands, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, let's vote on the motion that's currently there. We'll let them navigate through it. It's the original motion.
I don't know.
All right.
Ms. Mayor,
Chair recognizes attorney.
could you please have the motion stated so that it will be clear what motion is being voted on?
All right. Chair recognizes Madam Clerk. This is the original motion.
The motion was to amend the purchasing credit card resolution, removing the clerk of commission and increasing the credit card limit to $75,000.
Voting.
It's unanimous.
Next item.
Item number 6 is a resolution opposing a resolution, Augusta, Georgia, opposing House Bill 1093, Senate Bill 494, and opposing limitations on a county's authority to make housing, land use, and zoning decisions within local government's geographical boundaries.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th.
Motion to approve.
Voting.
There's Mr. Garrett and Mr. Mason. It's unanimous.
Madam Clerk, upon signature, I'd ask for immediate transmittal of a copy of the signed resolution to the members of the Augusta Legislative Delegation and to ACCG and GMA.
Okay.
I believe that's all the business that we have before us in this special call meeting.
All right, I'd like to call public services to order, please. Ms. Bonner, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, sir.
On item number 11, was there a reason why it is not in engineering? On the form it said engineering, and I just want clarification on where we should
Number
have it.
11.
Yes, ma'am.
That should be engineering.
The reason it's under public services because of planning and development, permitting, zoning code violations.
Okay.
And that has always been the
Okay.
history that license and inspections, planning, address Rob Sherman.
And everyone is here to speak to that, looks like. Okay. All right. Colleagues, could we consent
Don't know.
items 6 and 10? Got
That's Mr.
a motion
Johnson.
and a second. Voting,
Who seconded
please.
that? You
This is
did.
consent.
Mr. Mason.
Second, Commissioner Mason was the
Mr.
second.
Mason. It's unanimous.
All right, if we can go top down with Ms. Walden. here.
Okay. Ms. Walton?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Our first item is a new location. It's alcohol number 22-13. It's a request by Andrea Albright for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with Buzzworthy Bubbles, Inc., located at 111 10th Street. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objectors to this alcohol petition?
Ms. Albright, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Andrea Albright. The address of the business or my home? Home address is 3028 Bransford Road, Augusta, Georgia 30909.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please. Buzzworthy Bubbles. Sounds exciting. All right. Commissioner Mason.
It's unanimous.
All right. Agenda item number 2, please.
It's
I-
a new
Go ahead.
location, alcohol number 22-14, a request by Ashaben Patel for a retail packaged liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in connection with Liquor World, located at 2184 Gordon Highway. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objectors to this alcohol petition?
None noted. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Asaben Patel. Just my home number, right? So 3880 Almond Drive, Augusta, Georgia 30907.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve? Got it. Can you speak in the mic, sir? Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please.
I didn't vote. I'm sorry.
Waiting on.
I'm
There
sorry.
we go.
I'm sorry.
It's unanimous.
Agenda item number 3, please.
Alcohol number 22-11. It's a request by Kevin Goldsmith for consumption on premise liquor, beer and wine license to be used in connection with Polipo LLC located at 3629 Walton Way Extension, number A. There will be Sunday sales at this location. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objectors to this alcohol petition?
None noted. Please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Goldsmith.
Kevin Goldsmith, 3025 Park Avenue, Augusta 30909.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please. Oh, we got. That's everybody. Yeah, somebody being
It's
funny.
unanimous.
Always one. Agenda item number 4, please.
Always one.
It's a new ownership, alcohol number 22-12, a request by Mayur Patel for a retail packaged beer and wine license to be used in connection with Shia Shaktik 502 LLC located at 502 Highland Avenue. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objections to this petition, alcohol petition?
None noted.
I don't believe Mr. Patel is here. He was contacted by letter and by phone. I called him a few minutes ago, and he's not in Augusta.
So we're going to move it to the full commission with no recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Bonner, do we need to vote on that, or can we just do that without?
If there are no objections from your committee.
Is there
None.
any
No
objections
objection.
to that?
No.
Okay, we'll move that to the full commission meeting then, without a recommendation. Agenda item number 5, please.
Alcohol number 22-10, a request by Candace M. Bonner for a retail packaged beer and wine license to be used in connection with First Stop located at 2762 Tobacco Road. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objectors to this alcohol petition?
None noted. Ms. Bonner, if you please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, it's Candace Bonner, 1816 Rhonda Drive, Augusta 30906.
Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please.
It's unanimous.
If there's no objection from the colleagues, I ask that number 7 be removed. Is there any objection to removing number 7? None noted. If we can have agenda item number 8, please, Ms. Bonner.
Item number 8, Band of Brothers regarding 2022 Juneteenth celebration.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had some conversation in the past about Juneteenth in the city of Augusta, and the Band of Brothers have been in contact with a number of us, as well as some department leaders, about what Juneteenth can look like this year in the city of Augusta. So I thought it was appropriate if they kind of gave us a presentation on what they've been doing in the city of Augusta for the past few years surrounding Juneteenth, and just kind of tell us what they hope to see happen going forward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. And now they do have a presentation.
Okay. If you can step forward, sir. State your name and address for the record, please.
Johnny Gregory III, 3620 Lexington Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30906.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. You do have 5 minutes. Is there a presentation on the screen?
No.
Oh,
Can we get them set up?
we'll wait until you'll start the time once you. All right, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. The Banner Brothers Augusta are here today to discuss a possible partnership for the Juneteenth Augusta celebration. The Banner Brothers Augusta Incorporated, or the BOB for short, was founded February 25th, 2017, here in Augusta, Georgia. We are a nonprofit 501c3, and our mission is to promote and ensure economic growth, community outreach, and mentorship throughout the CSRA. The members of the BOB are well-respected anchors within the community, and we aspire to make available and distribute resources necessary to remove the factors and limit opportunities and positive alternatives available to the community. Our organization regularly participates in or volunteers for back-to-school drives, feeding the Bayville Elementary School students during testing, Ronald McDonald House, feeding the less fortunate, donating to and supporting other local organizations, and we annually host the Juneteenth Augusta weekend celebration. We have hosted the Juneteenth Augusta celebration since 2017. This event always has been and always will remain free to the public. We have raised over $40,000 in previous Juneteenth events and have had over 2,500 attendees. The Juneteenth Augusta Festival features community leaders, local organizations, guest speakers, sponsors, vendors, performing artists, food, entertainment for the kids, and wellness checks, and more. The Juneteenth Augusta weekend celebration features 3 events over the course of the weekend. The Juneteenth Comedy Show, which is the newest addition to the weekend lineup, the Juneteenth Gala, which is a semi-formal gala where the BOB recognizes unsung heroes within the Augusta community, and also the Juneteenth Augusta Festival, which is the finale to the Juneteenth Augusta weekend. In the past, we have had Naples to Infinity, Augusta Office Solutions, Modern Business Workplace Solutions, the GABCC Foundation, Cricket Wireless, Myers Associates, the Adams Group, Improvement Developmental Milestones, New Era Lodge 107, Dapper & Company, Worthy for Success, and the Banner Sisters as previous sponsors for the Juneteenth celebration here in Augusta. And we are looking to partner with the City of Augusta for the 2022 Juneteenth Augusta celebration. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. I know we have some questions. Commissioner Johnson, back to you, then Commissioner Clark.
Yes, sir. I'll yield to my colleagues for questions before.
Okay. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say this in regards to Mr. Gregory and the Band of Brothers. I had the opportunity to work with them during the last celebration, and unfortunately, it got rained out. But it was quite something. They are absolutely, this organization is absolutely one of the best and respectable groups to work with that anybody could hope to work with, and they are to be commended. I know that there's going to be other motions or other questions, but at this time, I would like to make a motion that they do partner, and Augusta partner with the Band of Brothers with the Juneteenth celebration. And I'd like to make a motion that Augusta waive all fees connected to the use of the Augusta Commons, the cleanup fees, and the stage fee. And let's have this celebration. That's my motion. Thank you.
I second that motion.
Okay. Got a little bit more discussion, all in one motion there on waiving the fees, the common, the stage, and the cleanup. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brother Gregory, a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
With this event, is it for 3 days or 1 day?
The event for us is 3 days, but the event at the actual Commons will only be just that Sunday, just 1 day.
One additional question.
Absolutely.
Mr. Gregory, are you partnering with other organizations like National Action Network, Greater Art Council or any of the other entities, or are you willing to do that?
There are talks with other organizations to partner up and put together the event this year. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
All right, back to Commissioner Johnson.
Commissioner Mason had a question as well.
Yeah, I just want to hear from our Parks and Recreation Director.
Okay.
And what information or
Director McDowell
that he would want us to know in reference to this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mr. Mayor, we've had some conversations with, I would say, a litany of different groups and entities that have expressed some interest in doing a Juneteenth here in Augusta. We've also had conversation with the Band of Brothers as well. And in part of that discussion, it was brought to my attention that they had been doing this for some years now in terms of having a Juneteenth weekend event and other events associated with the weekend around Juneteenth. As a department director, I thought it was prudent that we sort of serve as the sort of the facilitator, the nucleus of all those different entities that have expressed some interest. We haven't, in terms of our budget, been budgeted for this type of event, so we didn't have the means to be sort of the lead entity that will put forth this event. However, there's an opportunity for us there to serve as the nucleus to pull all these different groups that have shown some interest. And so I've had some conversation with the Museum of History here in Augusta, with National Action Network, and a few other entities that are wanting to do something around that weekend. I think the Band of Brothers have something that's already in place, so we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, but this is something that we can definitely add to and to continue to see it grow throughout the next couple of years. And so we're willing and open to work with any groups or any entity that have shown some expressions about working with us around Juneteenth. And so we welcome the Band of Brothers and any other entity that wants to work with us to move forward with a Juneteenth event for the city of Augusta.
All right, so just so I'm clear, you said there's not a budget, or what are we looking to?
So historically, because this is a new, I would say, endeavor for the city of Augusta, I guess 2 years ago, approved for us to be a holiday for the city starting this year. So this will be our inaugural year in terms of recognizing Juneteenth as an official holiday of the city. So historically, the elected officials have not set forth any budget or line items or for this type of event. However, we do have some resources in our special events budget that can help, as we do with a number of other groups. For instance, St. Patrick's Day, we'll be working with the Irish Foundation to help move forward with their parade as well. So we have some funds, not a lot of funds, but we have some funds, but there's not a designated line item for any type of Juneteenth activities. I just wanted to make sure that we understood that, but we can definitely use our resources. I think, to Commissioner Clark's point, waiving those fees is a way for us to be involved in it, because again, we can waive those fees in terms of the staging, the commons, et cetera, and that has some sort of value to it that can then offset the cost to this entity.
Okay, I understand. I just want to make sure that we have good clarity of what we're talking about here. So we're talking waiving of all fees, which I don't have any issues with that, but there's some monetary value that's associated with that. And I think I heard, was it $25,000 or something like that?
$2,500 for the stage itself, roughly $1,000 to rent the Augusta Commons, and then of course some cleanup associated with that. We'll be utilizing our staff, if that's the direction of the body, to help with cleanup in that particular area. They're only asking for the Augusta Commons for that Sunday, so all fees associated with that event for Sunday will sort of be our in-kind way of providing some resources to help facilitate.
So if you would go back on your slide, a couple of let's keep going. Okay, so sponsors, vendors. Now go to the next one. So we're talking comedy shows, De La Augusta Festival, Juneteenth Festival. All of that has a monetary amount attached to it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I'm trying to figure out, what is that monetary amount? because if we're making a motion here, what are we making a motion for? I want to make sure, one, that there's an amount stated so that we'll know specifically what we're doing. And then secondly, to that, is that an appropriate amount? Is it not enough? Is it too much? So who can give me that answer?
I would simply say this in terms, we haven't seen any budget numbers. And again, all of those different events, my understanding is just the Juneteenth festival that takes place on that Sunday is what they're asking for support from the city, and not necessarily the gala and the comedy show. That's my understanding.
Okay, and that's what I just want to get clarity so we're all on the same sheet of music. We know what we're actually, is that what you're proposing there?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. And anything else that you are needing from the city in terms of our partnership in that?
Maybe help with the officers. I believe we have to also secure officers for that event as well. Just maybe help with the officers is also.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hassan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure, because I think as I look back over the Juneteenth, I think the Band of Brothers has been the most consistent and been the first one out of the box in doing this. So am I correct in that thought process, Mr. Gregory, to your knowledge?
Yes, sir. This will be our 6th year doing this event.
Okay, and so to your knowledge, Mr. McDowell, has anybody been as consistent as them in terms of doing this event?
No, sir.
Okay, because what I didn't want to happen is to try to get things confused with what they asked, because they, found a way to be consistent with it. To your point, this year, we've made it an official holiday, and I think it's only prudent that we give them the respect because they were there when nobody else was there. I think that's important as well. I think what they're asking from us at this particular time is very reasonable.
Absolutely.
And so, that is also from that list. He just asked for security. You did hear that, right?
Yes, sir.
So you got to find out from the sheriff how many potential officers that's going to be based on what he thinks the population is going to be, or the attendance is going to be down there. So have that in mind as well. But I think it's an honorable thing to do. The city's recognized today, and over the years I've seen, they've been the most consistent group in doing that.
Right.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Director McDowell, do you think because I'm 100% support, do you think by next Tuesday we would be able to find, obviously the Commons is not a cost, the stage is not a cost, but the labor piece, whether that's the Sheriff's Department, that we could have that number, that way when we approve it next week as well, that we have that number with us? Do you think that's feasible?
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. All right. All right, so we got a motion to approve in a second. Voting, please. Any other discussion? I don't see it. Okay, voting, please.
It's unanimous.
Agenda item number 9, please.
Item number 9, Ms. Walton? Yeah.
Okay, this is a request by Demetria L. Blunt for a massage operator's license to be used in connection with Emerald Door Holistic, located at 3136 Deansbridge Road. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objections to this massage application?
None noted. If you could please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Demetria Blunt, 1765 Deer Chase Lane, Hepzibah, Georgia, 30815.
Thank you. Ms. Walton, is there any discussion? I mean, it says discussion on here. Is there anything that we need to know about this location?
No, sir.
Okay. Commissioners, any can I get a motion to approve? Or
Motion to approve.
Commissioner from the 6th, is there any feedback from your colleague? I mean, everything's good? All right, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion and approve in a second from Commissioner Clark. He has seconded it. Voting, please.
Mr. Johnson? It's unanimous.
All right. Agenda item number 11.
Item number 11, Ms. Lois K. Johnson regarding Johnson Calhoun Expressway cleanup, trash debris, and runoff damage to residential property.
Okay. And the director is here. He can come towards the front as well. Ms. Johnson, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lois K. Johnson, 1912 Ellis Street, Augusta, Georgia, 30904.
Okay. And do you have a presentation for the screens or just
I had submitted it, everything to the
pictures?
It's in your book.
everything.
Okay. Okay.
It's in your book.
All right. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. My residence is 1912 Ellis Street, and for a while I had been noticing water in my yard, abundant amount of water. So first I reported it to my insurance company, and they sent out an investigator to go through the yards, under the house, in the house, and around about. And they wrote me back and said that they will not pay for the damage because it was not covered up under that policy. So I called the city to have them to send somebody out to see where this water was coming from. And they sent somebody from their department to look around. I gave them my number and my address. I stood on my porch and waited for them to come by, and I seen the city white truck just driving up and down the street, but nobody came out to the house nor called me on the phone. So I said, okay, I'm gonna give them a week to send back for a report. So I called back down to the city, and he said that he couldn't find nothing. So I said, okay. I said, well, let me speak to the supervisor. So she said, okay, I'm gonna send him back out. So at that point, I had called Reverend Ivy and a few of the residents that live there so they can see what I see and witness it. So when he drove up, he parked his truck at the church, and we walked up and down the neighborhood, and we went in everybody's yard so he can see what was going on and where the water was coming from. He said, okay, I'm going back and write it up again. We still did not hear anything from the city, so our next thing was to go to the engineering department. And we talked to Dr. Malik, and another person came from the engineering department. He came out, we walked him from the 1900 block to the 2000 block. We went all in that back alley and seen the trash, the tires, the debris, the grass, the sewage was stopped up, and we found out that whoever built this expressway, the concrete, I live on the bottom, the concrete come down and it stopped. Then it picked back up and it comes back down behind my house. So whenever the water's running off, it's just coming from everywhere. Then we found out that the sewage has not, I called the city again. They said they didn't have the money nor the manpower to send nobody out to clean out the sewages back there. I didn't even know it was sewages back there. And if you walk back there, then again, like I said, when it's vines, trees, trash, tires, and everything. So when I had to call somebody, a contractor, to come out and see how much damage was done on my property. And so far, we're looking at $21,000 just on my property alone. And then I went up to my neighbors, we walked through their yard, and you can see the cracks in the house, the bricks. My front porch got a big crack on it, mold around the house. And you can see again where I showed you where I was standing in my yard. And I couldn't even get on my own porch because that's how the water was at that point. And I talked with Reverend Ivy at the church about 4 or 5 houses down, and he said that he had submitted a letter about maybe 15 years ago to the city showing that we have been having problems. He had a part added onto the church, and it started flooding in the church. So he had to go back and dig around a ditch or whatever around the church, so the water, once it runs off the back levee, it will run into the street. So these are the problems that we are having in our neighborhood. And it's bad. It's really bad.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. If Dr. Malik, if you could come forward, understand, I know there's a state route, but like, have you addressed this, have kind of an estimate on what it would, to get it fixed, and then what this government needs to do to get it fixed, I guess?
So as you mentioned, engineering did extensive cleanup last year. Commissioner Jordan Johnson was involved, really. And we cleaned up the whole area. I believe engineering went back in December and then routine cleanup. So there is a concrete ditch and there's a box in the middle that's somewhere close to her house. It appears to us that that is an infiltration basin, that there is no other outlet from the box. So everybody, water goes in and just kind of percolate down or infiltrate down. So really, there's no good solution to this. What I mean is really, you can't that water pipe or ditch somewhere else. The way it's designed right now, it's a ramp. I believe, from the U and the Crawford Avenue go on the type. So it's the ditch at the ramp, which is kind of at the slope. And again, it's a state route, really, so our role, the city role and engineering department is just the normal maintenance and cleanup.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Dr. Malik, and you're right, we did go out and clean this property last year. To your knowledge, is it still clean back there, or are we back in the position of having, debris and trash and stuff like that, grass build up? Is it still clear from what we did last year? Or are we back to square one here? I guess that may be a Ms. Johnson question or Ms. Collins question.
Yes, sir. So we're not back to where we started, but it will. It needs routine cleanup. So there are some leaf buildup and all that. So let's say, at this point, my recommendation is whenever they see that there is some issues going on, they can always call us, and we'll get out and clean it up.
So is this a follow-up, Mr. Chairman? Follow-up? Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So is this a matter of us just going out and sucking the drains and cleaning the trash and debris, or is this an engineering? Is this going to call for a project? What needs to happen from your office to make sure that some of this concern gets addressed? I know that some of the repair issues and the mold issues, some of that may be out of our control per se, but when it comes down to the yard flooding out and for under the porch and things of that nature, what is it that we can do to help alleviate this issue in Harrisburg? Or is this something that you might need to go back and get
At present, it's just a routine maintenance, just, clean the ditch and get the leaves out of the ditch so water can flow into the trap. So that's what required. As far as, the project, developing a project, that's really up to this body how they want it to address it, and that will require upwards funding and all of this,
And final question before I turn it back over to the chairman. How often do we go clean that area up for conversations like this? How often are we over in that Calhoun Expressway area?
Like last year, I know we did it twice. We did that major cleanup back in, I believe, in May of 2021. Reading through the notes, we went back in December, seeing like, to end of the year last year. And we can go back again. It's based on really is a reactive maintenance. So whenever we get a call that something needs to be looked at, we go and look at it and do it.
So before I turn it back to the chairman, I'm going to suggest that neighbors, everyone have an opportunity to meet, to talk to you before they leave the building today. But if this is a routine cleanup issue, we need to clean up on a routine basis. But I think that this might, and I'm not the expert, but I think this might be just a little bit bigger than a maintenance issue. But I'm going to pass it back to the chairman, and he'll recognize
Yeah.
you to make comment.
Ms. Johnson, you wanted to speak?
Yes, we also, and that's not true. That is just simply not true. I saw them out there cleaning up. Right there where the fire department is on Eve and Ellis, when you get on the expressway, that's the only area that they clean. In the lower part, up on the higher part where the water's coming out, you can walk back there now. Trash everywhere, everywhere. And there's also have a hole in the fence where people are crossing the expressway. That's almost like a death trap. That's a death trap right there. I want the city to know this. And I'm going to let you also speak to Reverend Ivy when they came out and spoke to the things that they were going to do and still have not done.
Okay, Reverend Ivy, I'll let you speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Let me just share with you, this didn't just happen. I think Ms. Bonner is probably the only one that's in here that can remember when Andy Cheeks was on the commission. I came before the commission because we were experiencing the problem of the runoff off of Calhoun Express at the back of our church. The issue is, if you go back up the 1900 block of Ellis Street, when you come down Calhoun Express, there is no concrete ditch. In that ditch, trees have grown up, which is part of the problem with all the debris that gathers when they cut the grass. So really, there is no ditch. And when you get down to the lower end of the 1900 block of Ellis, the concrete ditch begins again. So really, the solution in order to solve this problem from future issues, you need to reconnect that concrete ditch from where it stops to where it begins again, so that the water will flow continuously down to that stormwater trap and send it out to wherever it is designed to go. But that is the real issue. We had to install French drains at the back of our church in order to divert that water, because we didn't get any resolution. And this was when Andy Cheeks and Fred Russell and all the rest of, none of y'all guys was up there. Ladies were up there. But that's the big issue. They have some serious issues in their backyard. I don't have that issue in my backyard, but I do experience quite a bit of water. When it rains, when we have a flash flood, we have an issue.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hassan and then Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Malik, based on, let's just talk about the debris for a moment. So if all the debris is back there, as Ms. Johnson just stated, and if it was to go back there and do a thorough cleaning and keep the maintenance up, as Reverend Ivy has said, does that really resolve their problem?
It's a temporary fix, what they're really describing, in my opinion, is illegal dumping.
Sir?
That's illegal dumping,
Okay.
in my opinion, what they are describing. They dump, president dumps stuff up the fence, around the fence to build up. So, the cleaning up is a temporary, ongoing, the solution. What they really looking for is a storm system, which is going to take a project or engineering.
So
Design all that, you're talking about a couple of $1 million.
So that's my question. If we walk through there right now, and let's assume there's no debris there, they still would have an issue, right? And so my question, let me just try to get cut to the chase. Has the highway there, was that John C. Calhoun, I believe, has that created their neighborhood to be a floodplain?
Really, I can't say anything. I had to look at the design or prior history, what was there. But back to your first question, under normal rain condition, if we have heavy rain on all sides, we may have some issues. But if that area is clean, it should flow without causing any problem.
Mm-hmm. I think, Mr. Chairman, you have to get someone in and get it cleaned up and if they can take a holistic look at it, because that could very well be a problem where the neighborhood, if there's not proper drainage back there, the water just would continue to keep moving, and it would very well, not us, but the state has created a flood drain by building that, a flood plain by building that, and just see what liability we have, if any,
Yes,
at
sir.
the end of the day with that. But that's what it seems like is happening, because I think you start out saying pretty much it was not proper drainage, and there was no clear solution but still that doesn't negate us from, get some manpower through there and getting the community to try to do a cleanup, and then they'll be responsible for that. But so we got a couple of issues there, but we ought to at least start by trying to do what we can do initially, try to get our crew there. That's for the neighborhood to try to keep it up as best they can. But we need to get back there so we can take a good look, a holistic look at it. And I would encourage the committee to try to get them to do that inside of the next couple of weeks, to do a cleanup and then make a holistic observation about what can be done and what should be done. That would be me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Has there been any conversations with GDOT or at state level about this project or this area?
Yeah, I mean, GDOT maintenance has been out there. They look at it. They are aware of it. So, it's not the only issue. Like Highway 56 is another one. The resident was here at this floor a few weeks back. So, there are a lot of places where the state routes and the drainage issues.
Okay. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to say to Ms. Johnson and Reverend Ivy, I feel your pain because I know what you're going through. The reason why I know what you're going through is in our neighborhood in District 7, we have issues like this. Throughout our neighborhood that I live in, foundations have cracked. We're having to spend thousands of dollars out of pocket to get them maintained and fixed. It is true that people riding along Calhoun Expressway seem to think that's free litter box down there. I've counted probably 25 mattresses that people have thrown out over there. That's disrespect of a neighborhood. It's disrespect to the people that live in the neighborhood. I don't necessarily think it's a dumping issue or a trash issue. I think it's a drainage issue. I think it's an infrastructure issue that the city of Augusta, Georgia, is responsible for. And they have been responsible for this and knowing it for years and years and years, but yet we hadn't taken action to do anything about it. So I think we need to turn this over to engineering and find a solution to this. Calhoun Expressway is a state highway, but Ellis Street is a city street, and when you do ride down Ellis Street and actually see a tree growing out of a storm drain, that's a problem. It's a city problem. I don't have the answer to the solution because I'm not an engineer, but Dr. Malik, you should be able to find an answer to it. And I think that this commission should charge the engineering department to find a solution to it. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Johnson, for a motion, please.
Thank you. So first, I think before we even make a motion, we need to just go ahead and do some cleaning so we can get this stretch on a schedule for cleaning. And I think that's first and foremost. According to the chairman, she said, can she add something, Mr. Chairman?
Let him finish. Just
Okay.
give us just a second, please.
So what I'm going to make a motion is that 30 days, have this item be placed on the Engineering Services Committee with you giving us an update on possible solutions. That's a motion.
Okay. Dr. Malik.
I will do what this body want me to do, but I want to bring it to everybody's attention that the funding is the issue, and engineering does not have any money at this point. Actually, the issue we've been addressing, and I will try to bring that to this body attention. But
And I appreciate those comments. I had a conversation with the administrator this morning that there's meetings happening, and this body is fully prepared to support engineering. We just got to know what the needs are, and I expect out of the fruits of the labor of that meeting that you have with her I think it's pretty quickly, that something will come back to this body because we definitely need to support it to get these projects done, and we understand that, Dr. Malik.
Thank you.
Okay. Ma'am, I give you 30 seconds if you want to say something. State your name just so I know.
My name is Michelle Johnson. This is my mother. I also own a house on Ellis Street, and I understand that engineering may not have the funding, but these are our homes. And so her insurance is not, her homeowner's insurance is not going to be carried on. And they're saying we had to get the contractor to come out, and it's $21,000 worth of damage that's done because 15 years ago this problem was not taken care of. So I don't want I understand their issues, but it's also a problem because this is her home. This is Ms. Janice's home. This is my home. This is their church. So this has been going on. I sent my first email to Miss Francine February of last year because my mother isn't really good with the emails and the pictures, but we've been paying our property taxes. We've still been doing our part. So we just want the city to take that into consideration as well. We have to spend money as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. All right. Any further discussion? We got a motion and a second. He got a second, didn't he, Ms. Bonner?
Yeah.
Mr. Clark. Okay. Yep. All right. Then we'll go ahead and voting on this issue.
It's unanimous.
All right. Thank you all for coming out today. That concludes public services. Thank you.
Ms. Bonner, are we ready to?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call engineering services to order. Ms. Bonner, are there any additions or deletions?
No, sir.
Fantastic. Before we get started, I would like to suggest that we consent the following items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8, 9, 10, 13, and 14. There are no objections. I got questions on that. So, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir. No problem. Okay, I'll keep my look at it. Motion to approve.
Second.
Voting, Ms. Bonner.
It's unanimous.
All right. I guess we can go top to bottom. I think we'll start on.
Item number 6, consider approving an easement to Georgia Power Company for a distribution service line to Grovetown's new lift station.
There y'all.
Director Bond, help us understand a little bit more about this project.
It's a fantastic project. This is a power line from Georgia Power's easement crossing our sewer easement using property we had purchased to serve the upper Butler tract about 15 years ago to tie in a lift station that Grovetown has constructed that will pump all of their sewage back over to their new wastewater plant. So it will remove it from the city of Augusta system, which is not necessarily a bad thing because of the additional capacity we need in that area. So it's been an issue. We've worked with them on it. They've met all the requirements we've asked for. And so as a result, we've asked them to limit the service to that area, follow the guidelines, don't cut any more trees than you have to because it's green space, and then allow it to be tied in. So I believe this ongoing issue with them, and it's a project they've been trying to push forward.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on this. I just had concerns when I heard that they were moving service from Augusta, but you're the director. You said it's a good thing, so I'll take your word for it.
It will be.
Second.
Voting, Ms. Bonner.
It's unanimous.
All right. Next item.
Item number 11, approve sole source procurement of pressure regulating device repair parts.
Pretty exciting stuff right here. It's a pressure regulating valve. So obviously, City of Augusta is a very complicated system. Got a lot of different pressure zones. The valves, some of them are very specific, some of them are old. It's a sole source procurement of the parts from one of our vendors to support this that knocks the pressure down going through different parts of the system. So it's nothing unusual. It's just a sole source procurement because only one person manufactures and distributes the parts in this zone.
Oh, so it is pretty much have to go to one person.
We can have it, or we could, continue to pop pipes. So we would recommend it.
I understand. Voting, Ms. Bonner?
Yes, sir.
Now we get to the really exciting
I'll just stand here. I will have to get help getting this
Unanimous.
put up on the screen.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Next item.
Next item is an update on sewer expansion plans for unreached parts of the county from Utilities Director and discuss funding opportunities.
Okay, I've got this pulled up. I'll need some help getting it up on the screen. I have it in PDF format, so I'm just going to step through it. I didn't bring a proper presentation today because of the way I converted it. I'll talk a little about it very informally. Anybody, please obviously stop and ask questions at any time. I just really want to kind of step through a list of sewer projects, and this is as of about a month ago, give a little bit of insight into the costs and talk a little bit about our capital program. I'm going to hit 4 or 5 larger projects based on the fact the agenda item says areas that don't have sewer. And so I'm going to talk a little about overall sewer projects, but try to focus on the areas and expanding sewer into areas where we don't have it currently. And let me see if I can blow this up full size. Probably not because it's not a slideshow, but I'll do what I can. Let's see.
Full screen mode.
Full screen where?
To your left. First box.
Right here? No.
Go back to view.
View.
Down. Full screen mode. You just passed it.
There
Right
we go. Thank y'all. I appreciate that. I'm not good with computers. Overall projects. I'm just going to step through the different slides and talk a little bit about them. Try to give you some idea of the cost basis for each one of them. Travis Boykin Road was one of the projects that was put in last year. We expect to have some federal funding come forth from that project. Overall, about 19 million in complete design, construction, sewer lines and water lines in that basin. And that project has been done in phases. One phase has been completed to date, and we believe we have funding coming forward for the second phase. That will provide sewer to the Travis Boykin Road area. The Bel Air area step sewers. We've had a lot of discussions on the floor about this. This is the Bel Air area east and west sewers. The step sewer is a small, low pressure pump force main. Commissioner Tom, do you have a question about the Boykin Road? I'm sorry.
I can wait.
Okay.
I can wait.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I've got a lot of reflection, so I didn't see you. Bel Air area step sewer is a low pressure force main serving around 10 to 12 homes, experimental for us, in that we're trying to serve people who have an immediate need in that area without expending the entire $25 million, which is expected to cost for the entire sewer system in the area.
May I ask him a question?
Certainly.
Wait. Mayor Pro Tem, you may ask a question.
Yes. Since we have new maps and they've redrawn the districts and what have you, I'm probably going to get 309. So is this including the 309? I saw where you had the Bel Air steps and what have you. Is this including the sewer system over at 309 that they were talking about previously?
Yes. And so I don't have the new zones with everything, so I didn't overlay those this morning before I brought them in. I'll get you that answer, but I believe it does.
Yeah. So is it supposed to be done pretty soon? Is it June, July, something?
I have a design contract that is going forward. I think I told y'all before I was taking design scope services from a group that has experience designing these type of systems. I've also requested some clarification from the state on our ability to permit this internally. Don't think it'll be an issue, but they're getting that information to me. I felt like the design fee was too high. I asked them to go back and check their numbers. They came back and submitted it with a little bit different basis so that we don't spend it all, we don't use it. I'll be bringing that to the next commission agenda. They will then be moving forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, and I'll give you a call.
All right, certainly. In June, July would be a good time to probably say we'll get through design. If it goes according to schedule, we should be at construction in early fall. It should not take long to construct. It is a small, low-pressure sewer system.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Commissioner McKnight.
Yes, we've been talking about this quite a bit, hadn't we, Mr. Bond. This is the pump that we were talking about for Asbury Hills, correct? Okay. When will that take place, this summer?
Again, I would anticipate probably being in construction in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we can limit it. It's a fairly non-difficult construction. Just making sure all the homeowners know we still have a public meeting that has not been scheduled. I've got to pull together.
Yep. We had discussed that too as well. Thank you.
Certainly.
All right.
All right.
Director Bond?
Overall, Bel Air East Sewer. So this is 90% design. This is the entire neighborhood area, and it's shown that the houses that are proposed for the step sewer shown in red. Overall, this is 11 to 14 million, depending on the phase, the east or west sections. It's very expensive. I think the piece that what I've told everybody to keep in mind is our overall capital budget for sewer is around $3 million a year for expansion of sewer projects. In doing that, even if you have a problem and you're on the middle of the neighborhood, it will take many years before we get to you. So we've still got about 2 years of procurement of property to go through, and then we've got to go through the construction phase. And so we are looking at what options we have, and I think finance has brought some information forward about bond refinancing in the summer. There may be a potential capital influx for us that may allow us to pull some of the projects forward. It depends on what the capital markets do between now and then. I'll be back in front of y'all again with more information and working with finance to try to get the most money that we can in order to do as much work as possible. So Bel Air Area East Sewer, though, is slow rolling due to the cost. Bel Air Area West Sewer, again, the combined projects around 25 million, 11 to 14 depending on the phase. We do have 90% design, a lot of easements in those areas. And again, the thing you have to remember is the sanitary sewer is deep. So the neighborhoods were not laid out with sewer in mind, right? They were laid out with follow the lay of the land typically. And so what you end up with is in order to pick up all the houses, because the roads undulate, because it's the rolling hills, you end up having to be 14 or 15 feet deep in a lot of the roads. And the reality is you have to take the road out and put it back. It's a very difficult construction, and I think I've mentioned this before. If it goes in during construction of the neighborhoods, it's around 10% of the cost to do it later. So it's much more expensive to do it later. Country Place Sewer is on the books as a design project. Capital on Country Place was around $4 million. That number is around 6 months old. I don't have a near-term scope for that one right now. Jack Kelly Sewer is around $3.5 million. It was internal design that was going to be let as part of an external design, so it's still in the design phase. We haven't gotten through design with that project yet. Fox Den was designed in-house. We put that out to bid. It came in at about twice the budget. We have gone back and we've designed it several different ways. We don't feel like there's a lot more cost savings. Dr. Malik's got a project going over there soon, and so we're going to be pushing that one out the door to make sure we're not conflicting with the road construction. Crescent Drive Sewer is a commercial park in town that's lacking some internal sewer service. It's a design project we have on the books, but nothing substantial as far as construction. Gate 6 Chesterfield is just here as a placeholder if you have questions. Captain's Corner is towards the west of the Gordon Highway Zone near Gate 6. It is a cost-sharing agreement in order to bring as much sanitary sewer up into that zone as possible. Wrightsboro Road Sewer Extension, when the road was widened, the sanitary sewer could not be accommodated at the time that was already there. We had to pull it out. We're going to put a new one back in and open up the northern side of the road for development. There's two pieces to this. There's the crossing, which the design is completed pending 2 geotechnical explorations because I'm looking for rock. Nothing fantastic. Just don't want to hit rock when you're boring under the road. And the other side is again, a development analysis of a small pocket basin that's on the north side of Wrightsboro Road that some developers have expressed interest in. Again, that would be something we would look at a cost-sharing situation if it was ever to go forward. And that is this slide right here. Harlem Avenue Sewer, over off Boy Scout Road, got a sewer pocket. I can find no history on this. It's difficult to sewer because of the lay of the land and the fact that this is actually right in this area. If my mouse, hey, it is working. That's a detention pond. And so the most probable route to sewer the area would be to run down these house lots right here, but you can't because you're in the toe of the dam, which means you end up having to run between the properties. It's flat. There's water. We had a preliminary estimate around $500,000. We felt like we might be able to get that down to around 300,000, but there hasn't been a tremendous demand for that. Butler Creek main capacity, so it comes back to the question you asked a few minutes ago about Grovetown. Not now, in the future at some point. Capacity analysis questions, part of our overall modeling program, to make sure we have capacity to serve the entire Butler Creek Basin, given the density we're seeing of homes in that area. Corporate Park Sewer, no real things there to say. Yep, they've got to put a sewer in Corporate Park. Mayo Road Sewer up on Riverwatch Parkway, a track that's been hanging out for about 20 years. Fox Springs is a small rehabilitation project that probably shouldn't be in the capital list. Reynolds Street capacity analysis, part of the downtown program. Have a 42-inch sewer in an area we probably shouldn't anymore. And GMC is going to be looking at capacity analysis with that if we could slip line it, downsize it some to help with some of the I&I issues we've got. Airport water and sewer improvements, y'all are aware of that. It's a placeholder in case we decide to move forward. Laney Walker Sewer is an old concrete sewer that's part of the 2nd Street I&I rehabilitation program. So these are, it's an old concrete sewer that we've got some potential inflow issues that affects our pumping station and potentially could affect flooding in the area. Camp Hancock Phase 2 and Phase 3, Wrightsboro Road area. This is 110-year-old clay sewer that we've been systematically trying to replace over the last 10 years. This is simply the next phase of it. And Phase 3 as well, trying to remove part of the sewer right from underneath the cabinet shop. Somebody snuck in there at one point. JB Messerly South Aeration. I know it gets more exciting, right? Anybody have any questions about the sewer so far? All right, I'll keep going.
All right.
South Aeration is part of the capital program we put together each year with ESG. So they managed to bring these basins back online, give us additional aeration capacity and improve the facility.
Oh, hold on one second. We've
Sure.
got some questions lined up. Commissioner Hassan?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Bynes, in terms of, I've heard this word before, so I could be totally wrong. When you go in most of these neighborhoods that doesn't have the, I guess, the piping or whatever, which other extent, is that what called a trunk line has to be put in there or something to start the process?
It can be. I'm not going to say none. There's very few areas in Augusta we don't have a trunk sewer somewhere in the area.
Okay.
So Butler Creek, the Upper Butler extension about 15 years ago, and I think I've told y'all generally $1 million a mile for trunk sewer, assuming it goes smoothly. And then they're called pocket sewers. Other than that's what we call it, the pocket sewer program, unsewered pockets.
Okay. So the next thing you have a lot of location there, which is a good thing. But has there been conversations with the neighborhood in terms of them requesting it? Because we don't want to go in there and spend significant amount of money, trunk lines and tie-ins and things of that nature. That over 50% of the neighborhood don't want to come on the sewer. So are we gauging that to make sure we don't lose money and the neighborhood is not interested?
These projects are on the books still. I think the Bel Air area step sewer, those residents have been the most vocal. I haven't had a lot of feedback from other residents saying, we really are pushing to have sewer installed in the neighborhood. It is very dependent on the condition of their septic tank. And so my answer to you would be, I haven't had a big, call in or a big public outcry for sewer in most of the areas. So they're on the books, and that, before we ever get to a talk of construction, we will have that conversation with everyone who will be affected.
Okay. And last but not least, the sanitary sewer program, is it still in place?
It is.
And so how many vendors do you have on the ground at this time that is doing that?
Vendors doing construction, I believe I have 5 in the pool, 3 or 5 in the pool, who do on-call connections of people who have a need to have their their septic tank tied in.
So are we still putting out $1 million a year to try to get them down, or are we not quite there?
We put $1 million into the program. We average around 80 to 100 a year. So that is, I would say, more like $250,000 a year, somewhere in that range as far as cost expended. We typically run into the people who have an issue. So most people try to stay on their septic tank until they reach a point where they say, I know I've got a problem. And the program is perfect for that. It does improve water quality, gets the septic issues resolved, and but it does oftentimes result in cases where they are difficult to connect and they are expensive.
So are we addressing them? Say, for instance, you're in my neighborhood, and I'm not on sewer, but 3 or 4 months later, while you were in my neighborhood, 3 or 4 months ago, you were in my neighborhood, and now I'm across town, and now they're calling you. I mean, while you're in there with all the equipment, it's more economical to do it while you are there, as opposed to coming back. Are we charging them a different fee? Are we charging them if we got to come back to them, or we just have to get back to them when we can? Are we making exceptions?
We get back to them as part of the programs. People typically call in, they have to come in and sign the paperwork, and then they have to pay their fee. And then we go out and we have different vendors go out and look at the site, give us a bid on individual lots or groups of lots. We haven't done an entire neighborhood in a number of years where we put a sewer in, like Boykin Road will be the next one. And there'll be a question as to whether we pay the contractor to tie on everyone as they go through at a certain amount, or whether we let that later as a private plumbing contract. I don't have that answer in front of me today. To my knowledge, the City of Augusta has not charged a different fee for someone who requests it later than presently. Although we do have different costs depending on whether or not you're tied in, like if we have to do road cuts and things like that as part of the program.
Yeah, because I think when you're in the area, if they actually, even then on the list, the neighbor may want it at the time. If you're there, you're there, as opposed to, having to bring back and set up shop again.
Yeah, and I'll find out that specifically for you what when we last sewered the neighborhood, which has been a few years ago, what the policy was.
All right, thank you.
I'll get you clarity on that.
Yes, sir. But I know what the policy is, but I'm just saying, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I was hoping you would call me. You haven't, and correct me if I'm jumping ahead of you or what have you, but you haven't mentioned anything about East Augusta and all of the flooding because of the sewer issues that our folks have down in the East Augusta. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Second Street I&I project's right here. And so it's we did a study about 3 or 4 years ago. They went out, did some smoke testing, did some limited evaluation of the sanitary system, found what were thought to be potential places that caused issues, but they weren't very well identified, let me put it that way. So you could start digging and find things, but they weren't specifically found. They were more generalized.
Well, I assume, I grew up on East Cedar Street, and it always flooded anytime you had a half an inch of rain or what have you. So in areas like Macon Street, East Cedar Street, down in East View, they still have the flooding problems that they had 50 years ago. And so with all the money that we put in and the monies that we have in the SPLOST and what have you, I don't know, is there a trunk line near 2nd Street that sucks up the water from all of the smaller
So two
lines?
pieces to that. There's the storm drainage side of it, which engineering is slowly working their way through. And that's the comprehensive drainage, East Augusta drainage plan that leads over to the pond. As that program continues and the additional drainage ditches are installed and the piping is installed to get it there, it provides a relief mechanism, and so that the drainage overall will improve. We have an issue with the sanitary sewer where our pumping station down there sees high flows. I suspect Delaney Walker sewer is a big piece of that, and that's part of that's the reason why we're targeting it. We will continue with a program I'm going to talk about in the next month or so to really micro-target the area to try to identify areas that need specific improvements. So there's sanitary sewer, which is not really causing the flooding issues, but might be causing some of the smell and odor issues, and it definitely is costing us time in pumping out of 2nd Street lift station. And then the engineering projects, which will improve the drainage of the area overall.
Right, and it seems kind of backwards because you have an area that is so close to the river, and it's the worst draining or the worst flooding area that we have in the whole county.
Yeah, it's all the elevation. It's low, close to the river elevation, and obviously we're ringed by a levee. And you have to look around and say, places that are low, that are ringed by water, what do they typically do? They typically put in pumps. And so you'd be looking at a pumped system to really move water out of here. Think of New Orleans, Miami, places like that. So that would be a substantial cost, and you have to deal with the realities of the first thing to go out when you have a bad rain or a hurricane is power. And so you have to have the backup for it. I will say that, some improvements in the overall receiving system down there could probably improve the overall drainage condition. Dr. Malik and I are working on a comprehensive model for the city of Augusta to handle sanitary and storm to tie the water balance in together. And I know it's not today, but it is coming. So, yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you. On that note.
Hold tight. Still got a couple more questions.
Go right ahead.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Director Bond, I know you know familiar with Fox Den. What program is that area in? What program, I should ask?
As far as in program, do you mean time frame, or do you mean it's the second one on the list I have today because of the urgency of getting it out the door with the road project. And so we bid it before, as I've said. Prices came in high. We're going to look at what the economics are in order to get it constructed. I would anticipate that one being done in the next year. I would anticipate Bel Air Step, Fox Den, Corporate Park, Travis Boykin, and then I have 4 others kind of clustered together that are, and that's around $9 million worth of work. So that does exceed the capital budget, but it's where we're trying to pull some money forward to get those things done. And obviously Travis Boykin should have a federal component to it as well.
Any other questions? Commissioner McKnight.
I meant to ask this earlier, back to the Bel Air project. The road, Bel Air Road was done not too long ago. It's fairly, the pavement and the sidewalks. When you do that project, hopefully soon, because most of the people, I don't see anybody objecting over there as far as wanting to go on sewer. But what will happen with that road? I mean, it was just done not too terribly long ago with sidewalks. Will you have to go back through there and redo that over?
We would bore it. And so we looked at those. We picked select locations to cross Bel Air Road without cutting it. And so as a result, we would push a pipe underneath it, basically.
Okay, thank you. That was, a constituent was wondering about the road, if it was going to be torn up. Thank you for
We
that.
hate to do that, and we've talked about it, and that's the most likely scenario.
Okay.
Commissioner Hassan.
Yes, I just want a quick question. Director Bond, you just made mention of Travis Borkin and those numbers, and you came up about a $9 million figure to do that based on Commissioner Scott's question. So my question to you, but Travis Borkin will have his own money for phase 2, right? From the federal government?
That's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Rock Creek I&I, again, another inflow and infiltration study, National Hills area all the way through from kind of Lake Olmsted west up past Costco, Riverwatch Parkway. We actually have a number of monitors in that system right now looking for direct inflow, and if it starts raining, we should have some data back before the end of the evening. 2nd Street we discussed. Rocky Basin. Rocky is obviously got flooding issues. Obviously we've got some old sanitary sewer, and it's going to be a target area due to its list on the TMDLs. So that is just going to have the same issue. We're going to study inflow and infiltration of the sanitary sewer and see if we can fix some of the issues that are ongoing with the sanitary sewer system. Little Spirit Basin study, a program to try to figure out what's the best way to install sewer in that basin based upon projected growth from the corporate park. So, questions now?
I think we got them all out of the way while you're doing it. In regards to the corporate park and the last slide you just showed, would it be feasible to go ahead and start planning to add trunk lines, because we know there's growth coming in regards to neighborhoods and whatnot? You know, I'm getting asked from by developers, and what's the time frame? If we decide to move forward.
Right.
I mean, I know we were able to get the corporate park done fairly quickly when they needed it. Mm-hmm. So, and I know that's a fairly big line, correct?
The corporate park, the corporate park service line's not as big, but the trunk main is that connects to it.
Yes. So we do have plenty of capacity left.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. But when projects are coming, what kind of time frame should we be looking at?
We are doing the basin study right now, and what the intent of the basin study is to give me an idea of the density, so the size of the trunk main, and then the most probable route. Obviously, part of that is if you can acquire land from the fewest property owners, then you have, less land acquisition cost and time that could speed that along. They have delivered a very preliminary first phase. I would expect to have the other one within about a month, and then I could come back and have some more discussions about what the cost and the timing would be.
All right. Well, thank you for putting this together. I think this kind of helps us all really see where the problem areas are, as well as what the plans moving forward are and could be. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Overall, about 140 million in sewer projects just presented, and we have a correlating water. If we want to talk about that in a future committee meeting.
I believe Donna Williams said to come see her to get that.
That's what I heard. Yeah, said she'd drop it off, fan it in the sofa cushions.
All right. We'll accept this as information, Ms. Bonner.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if there is no further business, then I call engineering services to close.
So move. Oh.
He was going to receive it.
Oh, well, that's fine,
Approve
too.
it without objection.
Madam Clerk, are we ready for Finance Committee?
Yes, sir.
If my colleagues would agree, I'd like to consent item number 1.
So moved.
Been moved and second. Please cast your vote.
We're gonna have to start putting something on finance.
Madam Clerk, order. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. I have one question. If the appropriate office or person would look into it, it appears since I've been chairman of the Finance Committee, there has been no items on the Finance Committee agenda. So,
And you feeling some kind of way?
just a moment, please. Order. I still have the floor.
Oh, okay. You serious?
So therefore, I'm just a little curious. If there's nothing for me, I could handle that too. But if we should be having items on the Finance Committee, they need to be handled on the Finance Committee and not no other committee like any other committee. But if we find the answer to that, I'll be happy to entertain it. Thank you.
To
very
whom
much.
was that directed, sir? The administrator?
Whichever is appropriate. I'll let you two decide that. Being no other business, that's the end of Finance Committee.
Good meeting, sir.
Is public safety next?
Public safety.
Public safety.
Public safety to order, please. Ms. Bonner, is there any items added or deleted to the agenda?
No, sir.
Thank you. Without, I'd like to consent items 1 and 2.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
I got a problem with it, but anyway.
Mr. Chairman.
Mayor Pro Tem, you have a question?
No, sir. I don't have any. They threatened me, so I took it back.
Okay, vote, please.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. With no other business, I call this committee closed.
Wait for the clerk to get. Ms. Bonner, as the administrative service is in service, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Is there any additions or deletions, Ms. Bonner?
Yes, sir. We have a request for one addendum.
Is that the one from the mayor?
Yes, sir.
Well, he asked us, he won't be here to ask us not to discuss it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So that was it, Ms. Bonner?
Yes, sir, for the addendum items.
Okay. Ms. Bonner, I'd like to consent item 1 and number 2.
What about 3?
Do we have somebody to address that presentation? Can I get a motion in a second for item 1 and 2, to consent them?
Second.
They get Ms. Bonner, voting. I heard the second, I didn't hear the motion.
No, I just said you were a little slow today.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, I'm deliberating about you guys.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Item number 3, Ms. Bonner.
Presentation by Mr. Tita H. Nawana regarding Augusta Marshal's office illegally removal of his cars on his car lot located at Milledgeville Road.
Mr. Nawana? You can, either one of them is fine, sir. Mr. Marshall's office in here?
Yes.
Mr. Nawana, will you formally introduce yourself and where your address? And you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Tita Nwana. I just moved to Georgia and about 6 months ago, me my wife, and I have my location of the dealership is 2702 Milledgeville Road.
Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay, this is like maybe 8 months ago. The marshal had came to the lot and they removed all the 45 vehicles of the lot. And when I asked, I wasn't in town, but I asked my wife why they're removing these vehicles. They stated that the property is not zoned for used car lot. Which they were wrong because I'd pay a lawyer almost $4,500 to rezone this, and then she had a license. I have the paperwork from the zoning that the property was actually zoned, and I spoke to a guy called Mr. Charles Boynes. He was like, he don't understand why they're taking the cars, why they're removing the cars. So I've been trying to get help because all these vehicles that they took, they're all in the impound lot, and I tried to talk to the marshal office upstairs, and he said to me that if I come there, he's going to lock me up. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I'm wrong. I just want you guys to look into it and give me some kind of a help because right now we don't have nothing. They've taken everything I've worked for almost 20 years.
So let me ask you, so how many cars was it? Have you been able to, I apologize if I didn't understand you. How many cars was moved, and have you been able to get your cars back?
58 cars were removed, including my tow truck. I have not been able to get any. I tried to get it. They don't want to give it to me. They're saying that I have to register all the vehicles on my personal name before I can get the cars in. But I have a dealer license, so I'm not understanding how I have to register 58 cars.
I think, hold just a minute, sir. Attorney Brown, go ahead, sir.
Based upon information, a note from the marshal's office, this matter may be pending in court. Could you please inquire of the speaker whether or not this matter is there a court case pending regarding this matter?
Yes, sir. Mr. Nawana, have you filed charges against the city, against the marshal's office on behalf of removal of your vehicle, your property?
No, I have not. This is what they do to me. They just try to. I went to the impound lot to go get my vehicle. The lady specifically told me that I'm a criminal. This is what they keep doing. Everywhere I go, I'm getting a block.
Well, no, let me be very clear for you. The attorney was just asking because if it's before the courts or you file charges, then what it means is that we shouldn't be discussing it publicly. Right. But if that's not the case, I'm going to ask him what's the next course of action. What should we do? But at this time, you said you I know you mentioned you paid an attorney about $500 to do something, but however, you're not, at this point, you're not taking anybody to court, you've not filed any charges, that's what you're saying?
Right. I'm not trying to file no charges. I'm just trying to give my vehicles back.
Okay. Let me wait just a minute till my attorney get through there.
Okay.
Attorney Brown, y'all have any suggestions on this?
I suggest you go to court.
Attorney Brown, you have any suggestions?
I believe this matter is pending in court. If the commission will, if the gentleman simply wants to make a statement without the commission responding, that may be permissible, but the commission should not engage at this point.
Okay. So let me ask you this, just in fairness to him, and fair to the gentleman. You have a strong reason to believe that hasn't been filed in court?
It's in your book.
It's in your book. No. Yeah.
Yes, I see it. Mr., what we're looking at in our book, for the record, I'm gonna have to, like I said, to the attorney's point, you can make a statement, but I won't be able to engage you any longer, because what we have here, that this is an open case, currently pending trial regarding yourself.
Open trial?
Yes, sir. Open case. Open case.
I have no case. They just took my vehicle, so I don't know what case they're talking about. What case?
I have no idea, but that's what's before us.
Yes, I would do.
If you want to make a statement, sir, you can make a statement, and we can listen, but at this point, I won't be able to entertain you any longer because of that.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, that I have a case. I have no case, sir.
No, it could have been that sometime the marshal could have taken you to court, based on your vehicles. I don't know that. I'm going to leave it alone. My attorney's telling me I need to shut up, and so I think I'm going to take his advice.
Okay, I understand. I just came down here thinking I'm going to get some kind of help, because actually I've been homeless, because of this situation. I got 8 kids to feed. Stranded in Augusta, Georgia. I really need some kind of a help, maybe temporary kind of help with my family.
Well, thank you, sir. I'm sorry for your situation, but I'm bound by, not able to address the question, any of your concerns at this particular time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we got through that. Is that it? Is that it, Ms. Bond?
Yes, sir.